Hello, this is Mr. Red Dragon 543, and this has been something that's been on my mind to do with Pokemon in its remakes. So, before we get into this video, I'm going to state that right now that Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver is my #1 favorite Pokemon game of all time for the main series. Number 2 being Black 2 and White 2, and number 3 being Platinum. Now, for this video, I wanted to talk about how essentially that Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver kind of ruined future remakes by being so great in the first place, and the high bar that it set. And so, the one thing that I have to mention right now is when it came to the first two generations of Pokemon with Red, Blue, Yellow, and Gold, Silver, and Crystal, there wasn't version differences as much as we expected. The sister games didn't really have that much to add upon it as well, but there was still a few tweaks and stuff that was here and there. And I think for Heart Gold and Soul Silver, and even Fire Red and Leaf Green, they were regarded as maybe some of the best remakes that a lot of people actually attuned to, because not only did they make it better, but they also added a bunch of new content and also used a lot of stuff. So for like Fire Red and Leaf Green, you had the Sevi Islands and also like the round 2 fights, which was pretty amazing. And then for Heart Gold and Soul Silver, not only did they add like the Battle Frontier from Platinum, but they also added a Safari Zone with a brand new area, which was never before in Gen 2, and they also added a lot of features that you can re-battle gym leaders at any point. You can do all this amazing stuff. You had Pokemon that could follow you, which was also more personal, depending on like what Pokemon you always had on your front. And this was also a really amazing feature. Not to mention that it was using the Gen 4 engine of like the Platinum and Pearl series, right? So why are these games ruining Pokemon in the sense of that they're too great? Well, the problem is with remakes now, the expectation has been so high that when Ruby and Sapphire got their remakes, people were hoping that they were going to use elements of the sister game of Emerald. And instead of having kind of like a kind of like a middle ground, they kind of just did the whole remakes and then just added an extra story to do with Rayquaza at the end anyways, but that was like after Elite 4. Now, Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee, they were kind of like weird remakes in the sense that like you didn't have the battle system. Like, you had more of the Pokemon Go system where you just throw ball, catch, and you earned experience that way, but you did have trainer battles, but you didn't have wild battles. That's what I mean when there was no battle system. Like, there was no wild battles in the sense of like going in the grass and actually fighting a Pokemon till it's like red. But then there was the legendary fights, which were static encounters, which you did fight as well. Now, what does with Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire and Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee, there was a lot of fan backlash when it came to those games because it didn't meet the expectations of what they felt was a good remake. You know, they felt that, like, especially with like Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee, like, visually they look really nice, but they still did. They still kind of left out a lot of what uh, the original remakes did with adding new content, such as the Seven Islands and stuff, and they only kept it to the 151 instead of having the expanded decks. So when Sword and Shield came out and stuff, everyone was very mixed with that. So now, Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl is a very interesting discussion because this has been such a weird time for Pokemon fans where a lot of people are worried about the games, but it's understandable too because they want a remake that exceeds the expectations, but also is, for everyone, not just the old fans, but also for new and returning players, right? And so, I guess a lot of the things that I'm seeing is the chibi art style is throwing off a lot of people, but the in-game battle system looks very visually nice. But it's just like the outer world, I guess you could say, that is throwing people off. But other than that, I think another worry that is too is ever since the DS games with X and Y, they've been doing this thing with the EXP share where all Pokemon are getting experience at once, and instead of having it where you're training one by one, all your Pokemon in the party are getting the same experience, and I believe even the same effort values. So a lot of people who are competitive players really found that distasteful because let's say for instance, you're fighting a Ponyta for speed EVs on, let's say, a Pokemon, but your intention was to only get speed EVs for that one Pokemon that you're training. But because of the level system, all your party members are getting that speed EVs from that Ponyta. So now, because of that, it threw out. And then since Sword and Shield, they permanently implemented the EXP system. So a lot of people just have this thing where it's with the remakes, they're very anxious about it because they don't want it to be so dumbfoundedly easy, I guess you could say. Because I think here's the thing, is what made Pokemon really interesting in the first place was it was kind of a grindy game, but at the same time, you could get through it if you used items and stuff that you find along the way, such as the X items and stuff. You could make through the content rather quickly if you even leveled up, let's say 2 or 3 members of your team. However, I think the mass issue too is because the games seem very more casual and more simplified. I think it's also a lot of people seeing that it's insulting towards not just the fans, but to the next generation. They're pretty much insulting the next generation, saying, "Oh, you guys are too stupid to get the idea of the older games. So here, have this thing that will carry you for the way." And like I said, not a lot of people will see it that way. I understand that, but I mean, this is how I see how the fans are giving feedback. And it is valid criticism too, because I mean, if you're going to insult your fan base by making a very dumbed down experience and, trying to excuse it by saying oh, it's for the kids and stuff, I mean, if anything, you should make it so that way it's challenging for kids, but also enjoyable for the reward, right? Because when you accomplish something that's challenging, you feel good in the end. But as for Heart Gold and Soul Silver, like, they were regarded as the best remakes. And nothing has scratched the surface in terms of Pokemon games since these two. And here's the thing, a lot of you guys will have different outlooks on these games, but a vast majority, okay, a vast majority will agree that these are the definitive best Pokemon games of all time. There is no opinion in the matter. If you were to do a poll, this would be the top one. But here's the thing too, that people also have to understand. These games were made for the fans that it grew up on the older generation too. Like, they added so much to these games that not a lot of people get it. You know, a lot of people don't understand why people are sometimes very outspoken and degrading to the newer games, because it's like they want the love and care that the Heart Gold and Soul Silver remakes got. They want the attention and, you know, detail of that experience, you know. There was so much added to these games that amplified the experience, you know. And here's the thing, they fixed a lot of issues too with the original Gold and Silver. Like, on your cell phone, you in Crystal, you only were able to have 20 phone numbers. With Heart Gold Soul Silver, you could have everyone's phone number, and that was good because, like, there's certain people on certain days that will give you certain items, and sometimes there would be certain people that would call to let you know, like, hey, there's a swarm of this really rare Pokemon that would be like a 1% chance, but like now you can find them at a 15% chance. This is what was good. And then they also added, you know, with the abilities and stuff, they also made sure that, like, the game was still challenging in a way. You know, Whitney was still a challenge because not only did she have the Meltank, but her Meltank had Scrappy, so you could not just rely on ghost tactics. And then you had other stuff that was also pretty challenging too, with like Claire's Kingdra having Sniper, where if she landed a critical hit, it'd be doing 3.5 damage or something like that, like 3.5 times the damage. Like, it was insane because critical hits back then, instead of it being what it is today, it was like triple the amount of damage or something like that, or 2.5. I can't remember exactly, but somebody can correct me if I'm wrong about that multiplier, but all I know is it was more than X and Y. X and Y multiplier dumbed it down, and I'm not too sure why, but yeah. Another thing that makes Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver definitively the best remakes too is the fact that it really was one of those games where you can replay it over and over again, and it will feel so different. Like, it was definitely at the peak of when Pokemon was the greatest. You know, do I think that Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl will fail? No, of course not. It's a Pokemon game. Consumers will consume, and Pokemon lovers, despite not liking something, they'll go and buy it. However, my adventures only lasted from Gen 1 to Gen 7. I don't have a Switch, but if I do pick it up, I may return to playing Pokemon Gen 8 and possibly the remakes, but that will be a future I may not have, depending on how how long I live. You know, accidents happen. I can't promise that things will be 100%. One day I'm here, next thing you know, I'm underneath someone's tire. That's how life works, unfortunately. But, hey, what I gotta say though is I do hope for the best of Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. I do hope that they do put the love and care that they put into the remakes. And I hope that for the fans, they appreciate how far they come along. Because without the fans, Pokemon would be nothing. Let's be honest here. Even with the new players and stuff, like, it still doesn't hold the fan base of the original, like, fan base. Like, here's the thing. Pokemon would be nothing without its fans, and its fans would be nothing without Pokemon. It's like a codependent relationship. They both rely on each other. But that's my thoughts on that, and I do hope that they see some more positives than some negatives, and hopefully, you know, when it comes to the remakes, they can do good on their part. And let's hope that it's more entwined of using assets from Platinum as well, instead of just the base Pearl and Diamond, because if they add some stuff from Platinum, that would be very nice, you know, because there was a lot of things that was added to Platinum that amplified, you know, Diamond and Pearl. There's no doubt about that. You know what I mean? So that's just my thought on it, and I hope that you guys have a great day, and let me know down in the comments, what is your #1 favorite game, and what do you think of these next remakes? Do you think they'll be good, or do you think that Heart Gold and Soul Silver will not be topped by the fans? Alright.